Welcome to the 2019 redraft. If you haven't checked it out yet, I did it a couple of days ago. I went ahead and I regraded the 2019 draft classes, but now we're here to do it all over again. Since, actual NFL teams can't, but what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy, Broshmo. Just in case you did not know so, we're going to be continuing redrafts throughout the summer. I'm still working on my prospect rankings for the 2023 class, but we're going to start deep dives hopefully in a couple of weeks. Starting to get through the end of that, but yeah, here we are, man. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be wild. This is gonna be crazy. So I guess let's go ahead and do the nitty gritty. By the way, no trades. This is the draft order going into the draft, so it doesn't include like draft day trades. And yeah, shucks. I guess let's do it. Arizona Cardinals. I don't think we're changing much because legit, straight up, there's only one quarterback worth taking in this draft class. And if you're the Cardinals, you want to move away from Rosen. So we're going to go ahead with Kyler Murray. There's only one way to do it, and we're doing it that way. I don't think that changes. As a matter of fact, with the San Francisco 49ers, I don't think it changes much because I still do believe probably, especially defensively, the best player in this class is Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa's just been an utter monster. If you kind of scratch, was it the 2020 season where he went down to injury? The dude's a monster. I don't think they're going to do things differently. It's kind of tempted with how good this receiving class is, but we're going to do things much of the same. This is the thing in this class. This class is exceptionally deep at edge, and then the wide receiver class is really good, but I guess we'll talk about that in the next few picks. Jets here. This is still the Adam Gase era. This is the Sam Darnold era. They went with Quinnen Williams, but I like the defensive prospects on the board. I like Quinnen Williams, but I still think, hey, get weapons for your franchise quarterback so you can tell if he's your franchise quarterback. Obviously, in hindsight, that's not the case for both him and Gase. I think still, regardless, I want to get a weapon, and probably it comes down to however you feel about these guys. The top four, I would say four. The top four wide receiver prospects in this class are, you can't see his name because my big head's in the way, but DJ Metcalf, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, and Terry McLaurin. And I know everyone and their mom, they're gonna have different order when it comes to those four. You could argue that those four guys, they're top 15, top 10 wide receivers. And I'm going to lean on AJ Brown, man. I really do think he is that good. He was actually my wide receiver 1 in this draft class back when I did it. But yeah, we're going to do that for the Jets. You get something so you can maybe get a quicker evaluation as Sam Darnold. Get Adam Gase out of there anyway. By the way, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. And the popular thing now to do on YouTube, if you really support the channel, is to share the video. So go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead, get back to the nitty gritty. All right, the Raiders. We got 3 first-round picks because this is where they traded Khalil Mack. But they don't happen until what? Our first pick's at 24, then I think the other one's 27. And since our next pick's at 24, there's no way we could come out with one of the top wide receiver prospects in this class. However, when it comes to edge, because edge is probably the other position I'm thinking of here about drafting, there's some edge talent, like legit. Like we got Rashaan Gary here, and then Josh Allen, Martez Sweat. We got Brian Burns, Max Crosby. Like maybe one of those guys falls, but like it kind of crossing your fingers on that. But I darn well know one of the receivers is not. So I'm going to go ahead with my next wide receiver, and I want to get someone who is going to be a nice big weapon. They have Antonio Brown there currently with the Raiders. Obviously, he doesn't make it to the roster. Their other guy is, was it Tyrell Williams? More of this like vertical speed threat. So grabbing a receiver that's a bit more than just that, I'm cool with. So I ended up going Terry McLaurin. He was actually one of my favorite prospects. Coming out of this class, I was actually a pretty big fan of him. So we're gonna take him here. If you're like, oh no, DK, oh no, Debo, it's really either or, man. They're very good prospects. All right, now with the Buccaneers, they take, who do they take at this pick? Oh yeah, Devin White. So I'm not gonna touch linebackers. I'm looking to more valuable positions, just straight up. So this is before Tom Brady. So I'm thinking maybe I go edge here, because I think currently they have Shaq Barnett coming into this following season with, I think they got JPP. So we could get someone we could mentor, someone that we could play. Maybe if this guy's more versatile, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Someone that could see playing time, because his body type is versatile enough to play multiple positions, and he's got high upside. And I know this might be a bit divisive for some people, but I'm going with Rashaan Gary, man. The dude really emerged, man. That guy's went bonkers this past season. I think he really showed he had great upside. I mentioned going to the draft, like he was definitely one of the more raw prospects. That's why, look, we talked about with Travon Walker in this past draft, that it's kind of akin to Rashaan Gary, that you're betting that he hits that upside. So I feel better at 5 making that bet than at 1. But yeah, we're going to go Rashaan Gary here. He could actually, he's big enough to play that William Golston role as well if you need him to. New York Giants. I ain't going to do you dirty. Last year, I think you got 2 picks here, and I ended up going with Daniel. No. I went with the quarterback, I think. No, we missed out on Daniel Jones. Spoiler, I don't think we're going quarterback in the first round here, because none is worthy. Daniel Jones, unless Daniel Jones does something wild to radically change my mind this season, I don't think he's going to draft for the first round. I didn't even like him as a first rounder then. So they're stuck currently with Eli Manning. So Eli, the arm isn't there. So let's get a guy that can create after the catch for Eli. And this is where I'm going to take Deebo Samuel. So as you can see, the wide receiver is kind of flying off the board here. And that ain't changing as we get to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They actually get Gardner Minshew in this draft. So, hey, man, let's just get some talent for the next apparent receiver or next apparent quarterback franchise guy. I'm going to go with DK. He's such a mismatch nightmare. And he is legit like that last tier of like top wide receiver in this class. If you want to go look at it, you got Hollywood Brown, Mecole Hardman. I know Hunter Renfro's here. Darius Slayton, Jacoby Myers. Those are kind of like the next tier. Deontay Johnson, next tier of wide receivers. So, yeah, I'm just not compelled to go with any of the guys. Like the drop off is real after Metcalf. So we're just going to go with him there. The defense is kind of declining at this point for Jacksonville, but it's just like, just give me a wide receiver. All right, on to the Detroit Lions. And during this is the Matt Patricia year. Some would say I look like Mad Matt himself. But one of the biggest issues was he just couldn't develop this roster right. And just a very apparent lack of pass rush. So let's solve that. Let's get a legit pass rusher. Get a legit run defender at that as well. This is where I'm going to go take a guy that really emerged this season. I would say this is his breakout into like, hey, yo, I'm a legit potential Pro Bowl player. I'm going to go with Max Crosby here for the Detroit Lions. All right, now we're on to the Buffalo Bills. They went Ed Oliver. He's fine and dandy, but there is a better interior prospect in my opinion in Jeffrey Simmons. I think he fell because it was an ACL tear he had, and I think there were a few character concerns. I'm trying to remember from a long time ago. But give me this guy, man. This cat's freaking amazing. I think he's been the best interior player from this class by far. Denver Broncos. So at this point, I was looking at a variety of different spots to go. The defense is actually really good at this point. And I think this is the class they got Drew Lock, right? Yeah, this is the class they got Drew Lock. So, like, they are thirsty at quarterback right now. But maybe we could make some strides on the offensive line, because that's kind of like they got this big hole at right tackle currently, because I think they went to go fill it with, is it Jawan James? Anyway, he ends up not playing a snap because of injury. And maybe their interior is not set up like it is today. So let's go with a guy that has a bit of versatility, flexibility. I'm going with Elton Jigons. There we go, man. Very good. Very good. Like that he's got that versatility. And the Cincinnati Bengals, they still got Andy Dalton. They got AJ Green. The defense is kind of like, this defense actually ain't half bad. I was going back looking, I was like, oh, okay, I could see it where this defense then starts to like dip, because they do have a few older guys, but those guys were still producing very well. But the offensive line was just a terrible, big issue, terrible. And to be fair, this offensive line class, especially at tackle, is not all that great. So let's just go ahead, grab Jonah Williams, call it a day. It's a good pick. Kind of do what they did. All right, Packers. So this was Rashaan Gary. We obviously don't have Rashaan Gary on the board. Don't want to go out and grab an edge. They have the Smith brothers at this point. They're not brothers, by the way. And like I was thinking, I was looking, I was like, you know what? This another thing to talk about was like, man, maybe we get someone next to Jair Alexander. Boy just got money, by the way. Good for him. Because this core class isn't that good. Like Greedy Williams, Byron Murphy. It's like, DeAndre Baker. Monty Warrior. But I ain't taking him this high. That's ridiculous. But there is a cat that I am willing to take pretty darn high. And his name is Jameel Dean, dude. I think he's wonderful. He's going to get a big payday next year, whether that's with the Bucks or with another team. Having him paired up with Alexander is just freaking nifty. I like it. My Miami Dolphins, man. Looking back at this squad, I'm just like, oh, jeez. Squad is rough. We actually, this was the class we spent a second rounder on trading for Josh Rosen, which I don't think he even made the roster. May have made the practice squad. But the edge rush isn't entirely like great at this point. Like legit, it's bad. They have like bad Charles Harris at this point. He had a really good year in Detroit. Was it just this past season? But he hadn't been like, he wasn't good for Miami. I'll just say that he wasn't good for Miami. They really have no one there. So I'm gonna roll the dice on Brian Burns. Man, this cat needs to reemerge. Because we saw how good he was his rookie year, and he's been the same player kind of like for the last couple of seasons. He needs to take that next step, but this dude has incredible get off. And then the Atlanta Falcons, they do have a pass rush problem at this point because they got Vic Beasley, they got McKinley, the cat out of UCLA. So they legit have no pass rush. So I'm gonna go ahead and just change that. Josh Allen. He's kind of in the same, I would say, in the same vein. He's in this, you could talk about him in the same regard as Burns, where he's looked good, but he needs to take that next step, and kind of show like, hey, I could be a legit edge, like pass rush one type of guy. But we're gonna take him right here because the edge talent is flying off the board, and we get to Washington, and it continues to fly off the board. Listen, there ain't no quarterback I'm taking here. I'm not gonna lie, I considered my boy Gardner Minshew a couple of times, but Minshew Mania, I like better on day two when it comes to this draft class. they don't have like a great like their pass rush is fine. They got like Ryan Kerrigan there still. No Chase Young yet. That's next year's draft. But let's go ahead and grab Montez Sweat, who's been very good for Washington, because he ain't gonna make it to them. Well, they don't have a second round pick because they made that trade during the draft. But yeah, he ain't gonna make it there. If we try to let him fall, he's gonna go in the next few picks. All right, now at this point for the Carolina Panthers, they were running a 3-4. And they had a bunch of kind of vets there at nose tackle. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab Quinnen Williams at this point. Like, very versatile guy along the defensive front for the Jets. And especially in a 3-4, I don't mind having him play 5 tech, 3 tech, 0 tech. Like, go and get yours, bruh. Go and get yours. All right, so we took, who did we take? We took Deebo Samuel with the first pick for the Giants. Again, we were stuck with Eli. We're not taking a quarterback. Let's go ahead and get some help on the offensive line, because yes, their offensive line was even bad then too. And I'm gonna go ahead and take Eric McCoy. He's definitely, I would say, the next guy off the board here. The dude's just been a stud for the Saints. So pretty good. We leave with Deebo Samuel and Eric McCoy if we're the Giants. That's pretty darn solid. All right. So in this draft, the Vikings took Irv Smith Jr. at tight end. They have Kyle Rudolph, but he's basically near the end of his career. And you know what? You got a top 10 tight end here in TJ Hawkinson, who's pretty stellar as a blocker and as a pass catcher. So we're going to snag that boy right here for the Vikings. All right. Missed out on our guy, Jeffrey Simmons, for the tight ends. Unfortunately, no A.J. Brown either. But I think we are going to go with the wide receiver position, because the wide receiver position for Tennessee was bad at this point. Very bad. So I want to grab a cat that has some nice versatility, whether it's on the outside or in the slot. Great pass catcher. The hands here and there, but for the most part, like, he's really good. I'm a big fan of my boy Deontay Johnson out of Toledo. Very good, very crisp route runner. We're gonna snag him here for the Titans. All right, we're going to the, oh yeah, that's right, this is the Steelers. They traded up initially to go grab Devin Bush. There's just better linebackers in this class. Devin Bush really, through injury and just I think mismanagement, they should really use him more as a blitzer than they do. And that's kind of probably why I'm going to stay away from Devin White. I don't really trust the Steelers to use him correctly, because this cat can be, White is a bit of a liability at times in coverage, but you can't deny how he's a difference maker in terms of a like, he just makes plays, man. Whether it's pressures, sacks, interceptions, like, he does make plays in that regard. But instead, I'm going to go with probably the best coverage linebacker in this class. And he's been a solid run defender as well. Where do they have you, my boy? Where are you? You're not this far down. Oh, you are. I'm going with Drake Greenlaw, man. Underrated linebacker. Fred Warner gets too much of the credit, man. Greenlaw's pretty darn good. And then the Seattle Seahawks, this is basically at the tail end of the Legion of Boom. So let's go out and let's try to start putting in pieces that could be Legion of Boom 2. Now, Jalen Tomlinson isn't in this draft. He goes in the supplemental draft, so he's not eligible for this draft because he would have been considered here. But this is actually a very good safety class. There's Nazir Adderley, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Darnell Savage. We don't talk about Jonathan Abram. Juan Thornhill. There's Taylor Rapp, Amani Hooker. There's some guys in this class, even Mike Edwards. But I'm going to go with, I think the guy that's been the best among them is Darnell Savage. He's been very good. He's got that range to be a center fielder, kind of be your Earl Thomas type of player back there. All right, on to the Baltimore Ravens. And let's go ahead and address the linebacker position here. That way we don't have to like maybe think about like a Patrick Queen or such. We are going to get our LSU linebacker just kind of a year early. We're going to go with Devin White. All right, the freaking Houston Texans. This point, this team was just needed talent on defense. This ended up being Titus Howard, but like straight up, man, there isn't a tackle prospect I really want here. Dalton Risner ends up being a guard in the NFL. There's Titus Howard, but I ain't taking him. David Edwards, he ends up being a guard, but he's pretty darn good. Yeah, nah, this class ain't that good. It just ain't that good. It just ain't. And I mean, even looking at like the interior, see if any of these guys, like it's just not a good class offensive line wise. You could consider maybe Chris Lindstrom, but I'm just gonna go best player available, and for me that's currently Ed Oliver. He's been very good, and he's grown to be a much better run defender as well this past season. So we're gonna snag him here. All right, this is the Raiders' next pick, and it hurts my heart. There isn't a pass rusher to be seen. We could go with Chase Winovich, but he's got a lot to prove this year in Cleveland, as he kind of got into the doghouse early with Bill Belichick in New England. It's just not a good, like, we took all the talent off the board. Like even Malik Reed, he's a rotation guy. Like Andrew Van Ginkel, he's very interesting, a versatile piece. But even then, it's like, am I taking him in the first round? Probably not. So I'm going back to because this offensive line, it's not terrible just yet. They still have the nucleus of like Richie Incognito, Gabe Jackson. They got Rodney Hudson, Trent Brown. To be fair, can't stay healthy though during his time there in Oakland at the time, and they have Colton Miller. So I'm kind of on board with getting more weapons. We kind of have a guy that can do a lot in Terry McLaurin on the outside. We know Antonio Brown doesn't play a snap for the Raiders, and we also know that you got Tyrell Williams there on the outside. Let's go ahead and just grab our slot guy who's been a monster in Hunter Renfrow. Let's just take him here. Let's not risk him not being there at 27. And yeah, now our receiving core, especially with Darren Waller, watch out. All right, we're on to the Eagles. Oh man, this was Andre Dillard, but you know what? Let's go ahead and try to prevent the whole Jalen Reagor situation happen in the following year. Let's get our speedster. And you might be like, Hollywood Brown. I considered him, but I think I'm going to go with someone with at least a bit better size. And I'm going to go with Mecole Hardman. He kind of had his first taste of starting on the outside this past season, and I thought he did all right. All right, Indianapolis Colts. This is the draft. I believe they get Kyrie Willis. I'm just going to go ahead and grab someone I think could play in the slot and play in the box, and was a better player last year. I'm going to grab Amani Hooker, man. He's been very good. Very good. I was actually a big fan of his when he was coming out. All right, we're back to the Raiders here, and it's like, all right, what are we doing? What are we doing if we're the Raiders? We could go with interior, but they got what, Jonathan Hankins. They have Maurice Hurst there, who ends up, I think, leaving after this season or next. So I thought about maybe Dexter Lawrence, Draymond Jones. Those guys were kind of in consideration. Christian Wilkins, I feel like the guys I mentioned have higher ceilings. Linebackers just aren't great here. Like I said, the corner class isn't great either. It's a bunch of guys that I'd probably rather take in the second round at this point. And I mean, what are we doing? We might as well take like the best defensive players that are still left on the board, and I feel like they're at safety. So I'm gonna go ahead and snag Juan Thornhill here. So Raiders, they use their their 3 first-round picks on legit good players, and Hunter Renfrow, Terry McLaurin, and Juan Thornhill. All right, we got the Chargers. They went Jerry Tillery here, and obviously that didn't work out. I actually really like Tillery coming out, but I'm gonna go with Dexter Lawrence. He doesn't get a lot of shine there for the Giants, but he proved he can be a 3-down player if they need him to be. He's kind of been a force in the middle of that defense. So look at that. Look at that, Chargers fans. I just solved your run defense issues to a degree. All right, now we're back here with the Seattle Seahawks. We took Darnell Savage, and currently I don't think they have a lot of good players. Like, I'm thinking offensively, what can we do? Because they get DK. Obviously, we can't go that route, but I still want to get like a receiving threat for Russ. I mean, we could grab offensive line help, to be fair, but I think I'm actually going to go with Noah Fant here. So when you trade away Russ, the Broncos are going to have to give you someone different. Well, shoot, who did they get in the first round this? So maybe they trade away Jenkins to y'all in that trade. Doubt it. But yeah, we're just going to go Noah Fant. All right, on to the Green Bay Packers. And I'm thinking defensively again and getting someone next to Kenny Clark. And Draymond Jones, man, he's seen significant time for the Broncos. He just saw over 600 snaps this past season. He's one of the better pass rushing defensive interior players in this class, a guy that's not really talked about enough. So I'm going to snag him here. All right, we're down to the end of it. We got the Rams, and you know what? This Rams team, they invested a lot in this class on the interior. And let's just go ahead and grab the best interior offensive line prospect, because this team is actually really well put together. I was thinking about grabbing a safety, because they do grab Taylor Rapp in this class, but I was like, oh, maybe we get Chauncey Gardner. That would be sick. Nazir Adderley. Even Sean Murphy-Button would be really good, a guy that has flexibility on the outside and in the slot. But instead, I'm going to go with Chris Lindstrom, man. He is pretty darn good, and it would help that interior offensive line. All right, we're on to the last pick here, and I was like, you know what this Patriots team needed? You know what maybe could have kept Brady in New England? If he could have found like his Gronk, or someone, another tight end that has such good receiving potential. Like after like Gronk, just like after this, like Gronk's hurt a large majority of the time, and they just don't have guys. They just don't have guys. And I mean, so much so that like in a couple of years they go with like Dalton Keene and Asiasi in late 3rd round, and they invest heavily in free agency with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I'm just gonna skip that. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab Dawson Knox, man. The dude's been emerging. He really has. So watch out. This cat might be legit. Was it not this past offseason, but the offseason before, he was working out with like Kittle and Kelsey. Like, watch out for this cat. But yeah, that's it. That's my redraft. And like we saw wide receivers fly. Like the top 4 were off the board in 7 picks. And then we had a big run on the edge class, like right here. Like Jamil Dean, man, I always knew he was going to be going high. I'm a big fan of his. Like literally after Williams and Jenkins, it's like, you don't feel great. Like you like McCoy, but it's like how much value is that really worth? That's why he's here at 17. And then we don't see another offensive line prospect off the board until Chris Lindstrom here at 31. But like 3 tight ends going in the first is kind of wild. We got a little run on safeties after the Seahawks pick. We got Savage, Hooker, Thornhill. There were like Nazir Adderley, honestly, with another like solid year of play. You could talk about him. I was a big fan of his coming out. But let me know what you would have done. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.